Hello and welcome back to another video. So I'm currently on the recovery end of COVID, touch wood. So let's just accept that this is how my voice is going to be for a little bit. So what we're going to do today is we are going to actually create a proper Tkinter, come on brain fog, we've got this, calculator. That's the word I needed in my life. Instead of having little text boxes where we type in numbers and then choosing add, divide and all that stuff, we're going to actually have buttons that we can click. So let's get started then. So first of all, we're going to need to create a new Python file. So I'm going to click File, New File, and then click Python File, and this time I'm just going to really quickly save it, Save As, and I'm going to call it calculator.py. So it's saved on my desktop, that's absolutely fine. So we're going to create this a little bit different. We're going to use something called a calculator class. So we're going to have all of the visual elements, all of the buttons, all of the text boxes, etc. going to be developed and created using a calculator class. So we define the calculator class, which contains several methods to perform various calculations. And then we're going to have an init method that is the constructor of the class, which initializes the window and the user interface. So before we get on to that point, we first of all need to import Tkinter. So from Tkinter, import all. And then we're going to get onto the class element. So we're going to create a class. So class, and I'm going to call it calculator, like that. And then inside there, I'm going to create a function called def init, like that. And it's going to have itself, and I'm going to get rid of this bit because this bit's not really needed, self, and we're going to have master, like that. And then inside the function, we are going to have self.master, which is equal to the master variable that we created at the top. And then we're going to have self.master.title, and we're going to set that title to be calculator, like that. Equals self.master, that should be, there we go. And then we're going to have a self.display, and in this section we want to have an entry section, which actually, like an entry text box, which just displays whatever the value that we've entered in is. That was the way to say that. So self.display, and we're going to make that equal to entry, and then that's going to be equal to master. We're going to set a width of this. So master is our window. You're just going to have to accept there's going to be a bit of brain fog going on here. Width equals 25, which is 25 across. Let's set the font this time. I don't think we've ever done this, but font equals, I'm going to set it to Arial because why not? Every computer's got Arial installed. And then we are going to set it to be 15. So 15, yeah. Let's do 16 actually. And then we're going to come out of that and we're going to do a comma. We're going to justify to the right. Now take into consideration that justify is in capitals. Just like that. There we go. And then let's do another one. Let's do self.display, and this time we are going to assign it to the actual window. So we're going to display it as a grid, and we're going to use rows and columns. So row equals 0, column equals 0, and I want the column span, so I want the title to go, or the entry text box to go across 4 columns. So we do column span, that one there, and I'm going to set that to be 4, and then I want some padding, and I want that to be 5, and then pad x and y, in capitals, of course I am, why would I not be? Pad x equals 4 at 5 even, and then pad y equals 5. So let's just really quickly do the bottom one where we do the TK loop thing so we can actually see if it actually works. So that would be outside of everything. So root equals TK. We don't need to do that one yet, and then we'll do root dot main loop, like that. it's going to tell me that that has to be a little k, doesn't it? I do this every time. Fn across. Okay. Right. So that makes me feel a bit happier about my life. And then the next things we need to do is we actually need to start the buttons. Now, I get really lazy, so I just create one button and then copy it. So let's put a create buttons. And in this section, we are going to do self.create button. And this one is going to be the C button, the cancel button. And I'm going to put it into rows and columns. So the numbers that you're going to see in a second are going to be rows and columns. So I'm going to have it in row 1, and then I'm going to have it in column 0. And then I'm going to have it be, I'll come back to that in a second. I'm going to say we'll add on the functions, but we'll do that later. So I've done that bit. I'm going to get rid of that comma because I don't need that one just yet. And then I am just going to copy and paste that because I'm lazy. And this is what most programmers do anyway. So self.create button. Let me just do that a minute. Something went wrong with that then. Rewrite that whole line again. Different the first time. Just comma, it was 1, 0. And then we'll do the same again, so I'll paste that underneath. And this time we're going to use the backspace button. So I'm going to use that and that to create the backspace button. And I'm going to have it in row 1, column 1. And then let's do it again. And this time we're going to use the / to create the delete button. And I'm going to have it in row 1, column 2, like that. And then we need to do a little bit extra for this. So we need to include something called a lambda function. So we're going to do lambda, and we're going to say self dot. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that stage yet. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just create all the buttons first. So next one. This time we are going to include the multiplication. It's going to be like that. And this is going to be 1, 3, like that. And then I just press run by mistake and Control V. Again, we're going to create the next button, and this one we're going to have the 7, and this is going to be 1. Actually, no, this is going to be 2, 0, like that. And this is going to be the 6. Actually, no, if I think about it, it's going to be the 8. And this is going to be 2, 1. I'm going to copy that. And then we're going to have the 9. And that's going to be 2, 2. And then we're going to have the, I'll work it out in my head, what's next? 8, 9. Look, it will be the takeaway. The takeaway like that. The takeaway symbol, and that'll be in 2, 3. So if I save this, as we keep going, it means that I don't forget to save it later. So after we've done takeaway, we're on the 4, and this is going to be in 3, 0. And oh, I need to do that. Do that. And then this one 4, we're going to go for the 5 next, and this is going to be in 3, 1. And then next will be 6. Will be in 3, 2, like that. And then we're going to have the plus symbol. So we've done so it's the plus symbol that'll be next. So we're going to have the plus symbol, that's going to be in 3, 3, just like that. And then we're going to start on the 1. I'm going to go down here. So this is going to be 1, and this is going to be 4, 0. Then it's going to be 2, and it's going to be 4, 1. And then it's going to be 3, and it's going to be in 4, 2. And then we're going to have the equals. There we go. Equals, and that's going to be in the 4, 3. just like that. And then we've got a couple more left to do. We've got the 0 and then we've got the full stop. So we're going to have a 0, and that's going to be in 5 0, and then we're going to have a full stop, so point, and it's going to be in 5 1, like that. And then I'm going to reset it. So if we basically want to reset it, we're going to have a self.reset, which will equal to true. So this is a calculator window, so this will be initialized using this tk function here, and the title of the window we set to calculator. We have an entry window or an entry widget is created for displaying the input and the output of the calculator, and then the create buttons is basically a method which is called to fully create all of these buttons for us, so it makes it easier. So the create button method takes 4 arguments. It takes text, it takes row, it takes column, and it'll take command. We haven't put command in yet. So the text argument specifies the text that's going to be displayed on the button. So in this case, it's going to be the C, so we know we're going to cancel. The row and column arguments specify the position of the button in the grid. So row 1, column 0. And the command argument, which we're going to create once we've worked out what commands we want to actually put in place, is the function that will be created and called when the button is clicked. We haven't got that far yet, so let's just see if this runs. Invalid syntax, where's my line 1? So name error, self is not is defined. Line 1, where am I looking? And C, okay. Give me 1 second. I've missed something out somewhere. Okay, let's try this again. All I did was save it, copied it, saved it in a new thing. Let's run it in Python File terminal. There we go. Right, so we know it's working. Now the reason it's not actually showing these on there is because we're not actually putting it into a grid yet. We've not bound it into a grid. So if I put in down here, calculator, right, let's do it slightly different. Let's call it calc equals calculator root, and then if we run it, there we go, we'll get an error. And the reason we've got an error is because we've not actually created the create button method yet. So that's the next thing we need to do. We have basically got all of this sorted, so now we need to create the function that will generate all of these for us. So underneath, I'm going to create a new function. Let me make sure I'm out of that function. There we go. I'm going to call it def create button, and I'm going to pass into it self text row column and command, and I'm going to set command to none for now. And then in here, I'm going to say that for the buttons, I want you to create a button that is linked to the master, which is the overall context, the overall label, window, word. And I want you to give it the text of whatever value I say in the actual creation of it. Then I want you to make the width of it, so we're going to make all the buttons the same. The width is going to be 5, the height is going to be 2, and the font is going to be Arial. Arial, I always get confused as to whether it's NA or an E. And then we're going to set the size of that to be 12. And then we're going to close that bracket. And then we're going to have a command, which is going to be linked to a command that we're going to give it later on. And we're going to close that bracket. And then we are going to have button dot grid, so we can actually place the buttons onto the window. Row equals row, column equals column, and then pad X is going to be 5, pad Y is going to be 5, and then Once that saves, there we go. Save it. Let's try it again and see what happens. This time, we get all of the buttons on that we've created. So all of the buttons are uniformed. Okay, all of the buttons look like they should belong on a calculator. I know there's a massive space here, but it's just a design element, so you could always fill that with some other functions such as pi or power to of and things like that. So that is the basic outline. So we've basically created the functions or the GUI of it. So we've not actually dealt with any of the function stuff yet. So this is what we need to do now. So let's close it off for now. I'm going to close it off so it makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to create a new function, and this one is going to be called add digit. So in this method, we're going to use it to add digits to the calculator display. So when we click on a digit, we're going to revoke or use the add digit method, and we're going to make sure that the corresponding digit is sent as an argument. So if we use the reset if the reset variable is true, then the current input in the display is deleted and the reset variable is set to false, and then the click digit is then added to the display using the insert method. So let's have a look what this looks like. So def add digit, and we're going to say to self digit, and then we're going to say if self dot reset self dot display delete, and we haven't created delete yet, so it's not going to come up. So we're going to create a function for the delete. We're going to delete from 0 all the way to the end, and then we are going to do self dot reset equals false. And then as a kind of get out of jail free card, we're going to do self dot display dot insert end digit. Now some of these things won't work for now, so like the delete might not work, but it will eventually. So once we've done the add digit, do you remember when we created all of these? So what we need to do now is for all of the numbers, we need to call the add digit to it. So what I mean by that is at the moment, it doesn't know what to input into the entry widget. So we need to fix that. So let's take the 7, for example. I'm going to put a comma after the 7, and I'm going to put lambda like that. And then I'm going to put self dot add digit. There we go. And then I'm going to tell it what digit to add, and I'm going to add 7 like that. Now I've got to do that for every single one of my numbers. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that. Get rid of that. And obviously it's going to change. So that's going to be 8. That's going to be 9. And then I'm going to find the rest of my numbers. So I've got 4, 5, and 6. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. So 4, 5, and 6. And then I'm going to go down to here, and I'm going to do the same thing again. Like that, like that. And this time it is 1, 2, and 3. And then I've got one more to do, which is the 0. Get rid of that, and that 0 like that. So when we add the lambda function, it's basically a function that we can use to define a mathematical operation on 2 values. So we can use it for addition, we can use it for subtraction, we can use it for multiplication, or in this case, we can use it to implement a function that we've created so that we can view something in an entry box, but it'll also help us do the addition stuff later on in the tutorial. So now we've kind of dealt with the add digit and we've put that stuff in, we've got another one to create. So we need to work with these operators. So the cancel, the backspace, the divide, the multiplication, the addition, the equals, they're all operations. So we now need to create another function to deal with that. So I'm going to call this one def add operator. And I'm going to pass into it self and operator. And I'm going to create something. I'm going to create it first and I'm going to explain what's happening. So self dot expression equals self dot display dot get, and then self dot opper expression again equals express dot equals operator. I didn't want to cough on camera. Operator like that, and then finally we've got self dot display dot delete 0 and so what's happening then? So the add operator method is used to add operators to the calculator's display. So while an operator is clicked, the add operator method is called with the corresponding operator as an argument. The expression variable is assigned the current input from the display, followed by the operator. Then the input in the display is deleted. So that is what's happening in this section. So now what we need to do is we need to add this to our operators. So we're doing something very, very similar. So I'm not going to do the clear and I'm not going to do the backspace because we're going to create new ones for those. So I'm just going to deal with the actual mathematical operators. So lambda again, and then it's going to be self dot add operator. And then this time we are going to say what the operator is. So we're dealing with the backspace like that. Again, didn't want to cough on camera. So then I'm going to copy this and I'm going to take it here. And I'm going to add in the multiply. And then I'm going to do the same here. Oops. Like that. And I'm going to add in the minus. And then I'm going to do the same for the plus. And I'm just looking, I think, yeah, because the equals is going to be something slightly different. We've done the, let's do it for this one as well, the dot function. So control that in and it's going to be a full stop like that. So we've kind of dealt with the add digit and add operator. So now we need to create a function for the clear. So we're going to create a new function, so def clear, and I'm going to just pass into it the self, and then I'm going to do self dot display dot delete, and I want to delete everything from the first character to the last character. So the clear method, this is going to be used to clear the calculator's display. So when we hit the C button, the clear method is called and the input in the display is deleted. Let's add this to here. So we're going to do self dot clear. So we're just going to call a function when that one's done, which is how that works. And then we've got another one to do this time. So we've dealt with the clear. We're going to now deal with the backspace. This one's a little bit more complicated. So let's type it first and then I'll explain it. So I'm going to call it backspace and I'm going to assign the value itself like that. And then we are going to do current equals self dot display and we are going to get that value. Then we are going to do self dot display dot delete and we are going to delete from 0 to end. And then we are going to do self dot display dot insert 0 comma current minus 1 like that. So the backspace method is used to delete the last character in the calculator's display. So when we click on the backspace button, the method called backspace is called. The current input is retrieved from that display and then the last character is removed using string slicing, which is this here. So we're going to remove the last character that was entered. So once all of that is done, the modified input is then added back to the display. So it looks like nothing's changed except for that one digit gets removed. But in actual fact, the whole thing is getting removed and then it's getting re-added to the entry. So let's add that on to our functions at the top. So again, we're just going to do self dot backspace. And then now we've just got to deal with the equals button, which is the calculator method that we're going to create in a second. So let's do it. So I'll type it and then again I'll explain it to you. So we're going to do def calculate, and we're going to do self like that. And then we're going to have self.expression. And we are going to have plus or equals to self.display. Like that. And then we're going to say, I want you to get everything in there. And then we're going to do a little bit of try catch, a little bit of error handling. So we're going to do try result equals eval self.expression. And then self.display.delete. And again, we're going to do 0 to end. And then we're going to do self. I had to pause the video for a second then because we had someone come to the door. But anyway, let's pick up where we left off. We have just done the result equals eval and the self-display. So let's now continue, and we've just done the self-display.delete. So now we need to do the self.display insert. Self.display, just like that. And then we're going to do dot insert end. And then we're going to also have the result on the end of there as well, like that. Now, result hasn't yet been defined, okay? We will sort that out. And then, where were we? Self.reset, that's the one. Self.reset. I know I haven't explained this just yet, but I will in a second. Equals true. And then, so they're the things we're going to try. So then we need to do an except, like that. And this is going to be self.display.delete, like that. And then that is going to be 0, end, self.display.insert. Oh, forgot my dot. And that's going to be end, error, like that. And then we are going to have self.display equals true, like that. So let's explain it. So the calculate method, which is this bit here, is used to perform calculations. So when the equal button is clicked, the calculate method is called. The expression variable is assigned to the current input in the display, and then the eval function is used to evaluate the expression, and the result is displayed to the calculator's display box. So that is pretty much everything that we've covered. So let's test this out. Let me just double check. Oh, I forgot to do this bit. So this equals button, this is going to have the calculate element, so it's going to be self.cal. I can never spell it. There we go. So that is pretty much the entire thing completely done. So let's see what happens when we run it. So we should get the same input, which is what we have, same output even. We'll do 6 plus 6 equals 12. Okay, let's try doing something a little bit harder. 6 divided by 0. Perfect, because we should always get a 0 when we try to divide something by 0. An error even. Let's do... Oh, object has no bool delete. We've got a couple of errors coming up. Self.display delete, but it seems to be working fine. Ah, so it's when we do the error. Okay, right, let's have another look. Let's try just doing a normal one. That works fine. Okay. 5 times 5, 25 works fine. 8 minus 9, no, it's 5, 3. 8 plus 3, perfect. Cancel. 8 divided by 1, perfect. So the only time we get the error is when we do 8 divided by 0, and then we try and do something else like that. So unless we cancel it first, let me try that one more time. So there we go. So there's no error, just displays. There's no like backwards to it. We can't go back to it. But we have done a basic calculator. So we've got a basic Tkinter calculator. We have created a class that creates the actual, what it looks like, the actual GUI of it. We've created a button, a class that will create buttons for us, all of the same height. We've created a class that adds buttons, that adds digits to our entry text box. We've worked with the operators. We've done clear, we've done backspace, and we've worked out calculate, and we've included some try-catch. There's a lot of things that's happened in that video, but you've successfully completed and created a GUI calculator in Tkinter. Congratulations. Happy coding, and I'll see you in the next one.